Good evening and welcome to the program Moving Forward. On this program we focus on issues of interest to Bay and Grantstown, but not exclusively, for we will be discussing topics of national and international importance. Our objective is to move the nation forward to the best of our ability. And therefore we do not focus on the problems. We do not shine a light on the problems. Instead, we try to find solutions through our guests and contributions from other sources. That is why we titled this program Moving Forward. This evening we have a very interesting program, for we have a very interesting guest. Her name is Mrs. Larry Miller Ferguson, a retired nurse, and she is figuring very prominently in the agenda that we have established for Bay and Grantstown. She is the new president of the recently commissioned Baintown chapter of Women Against Crime, which is an auxiliary of Bahamas Against Crime. She has also served as the Director of Community Health for Bay and Grantstown as of, I think it was November of last year. And she's doing tremendous work, as you will hear. And so let me welcome you, Nurse Ferguson, to the program Moving Forward.
Thank you, Mr. Moss. Thank you for having me on the program. Okay, and
tell us a little about yourself, your background, because you were born and raised in Baintown.
Yes, as Reverend Moss said, I am a product of Baintown, having been born and raised on Ferguson Street, which is in the heart of Baintown. And as mentioned by profession, I am a registered nurse, midwife, public health nurse. And in Baintown just now, I'm wearing a number of hats, and I look forward to the challenge.
Well, we last year decided that upon your retirement, of course, let me back up and say, why are they retiring people so young these days? I mean, look at you. You are not old enough to be retired. But since they did it, we are going to benefit from it. Their loss will be our gain. And so we invited you to serve as the Director of Community Health for Bay Grantstown. And recently you also accepted the awesome task of being the president of the Baintown chapter of the Women Against Crime organization. Let's start with that, because crime is of such great concern to this society today. I think in the media today, it was stated that crime is up some 32% over last year. The homicide count year to date is 121. Last year, the total homicide for the year was 124. So we're just 3 shy of equaling last year's count. And then the all-time record is 127, which was established in 2011. And there's an excellent chance that that also will be surpassed. And so the crisis continues. What we decided to do is to address that crisis not by talk, not by rhetoric, but by action. And we have decided to utilize some of the resources that seem to be lying around unused. And we're talking primarily human resources. And we recognized some time ago that one of the most influential group in our society are our women. And they were not, in our opinion, being fully utilized in the fight against crime. And so Bahamas Against Crime decided to establish an auxiliary called Women Against Crime. And we rationalized that, one, women are very influential, particularly in the family and the community. And we see it every day, because a woman can intervene in situations that if a man were to attempt it, he would just perhaps exacerbate the situation. Women have that tremendous influence that they exercise over the community. And we decided that perhaps it would be a good idea to recruit these women to utilize that influence to positively impact the problem. On the other side of the coin, women are obviously the most vulnerable in this crime crisis. They also suffer the most. I mean, you see them on television, you see them around the courts, you see them around the prison, and they appear to suffer more than anyone else. Well, we rationalize, since they are the main sufferers, perhaps if they could find the motivation to get involved and do some things to, first of all, prevent and then ameliorate this problem, it would be to their benefit. And so Women Against Crime was launched. But as the scripture says, you should start at Jerusalem, which is home, we decided to start with the Baintown chapter. And the idea was to have this organization operate primarily at the community level, on the ground, where they have influence, where they know the lay of the land, so to speak. And so the chapters would operate within their own area of influence in their communities and in their neighborhoods. So the Baintown chapter was the first for obvious reasons. And we invited interested women to come together and establish that chapter. And the commissioning service was held just, 4 or 5 weeks ago.
Right.
And Nurse Miller was selected as the president. So let's talk about what is expected from the Baintown chapter of Women Against Crime in this current situation.
Okay, as you said previously, we are starting at the ground level. You know, what I find so heartbreaking is when you listen to the news, and they mention, well, one of the hot spots for crime is the Baintown area. It's always mentioned in a negative state. So as women and also, you know, as native Baintownians, we're looking forward to change. You know, we don't want our community to be viewed in that light. So, like we said, starting at the ground level. Each one of us, if each one of us could reach one, you know, we look at each one of us mentoring one young person, specifically just now our young men, because they seem to be the ones who are always getting into problems. So we find if we can reach out to them, sometimes with just a kind word, with just a hug, but just an encouraging word, you know, that starts it. But then not looking only at our young men. We have a large number of young people in the community, and we have young women. So what we're looking at commencing programs whereby small groups, we can reach our young women, teaching them things like just self-esteem, building self-esteem, family planning, basic things that would help them to make better decisions than they're making now. And initially, that's where we are going to start. Each one, reach one, you know, mentor one.
That's right, because it is very important, and women have that God-given ability, it seems, to nurture and to reach and even to change minds.
Right.
Because women approach it from a different perspective than men. For example, if there is an altercation going on out in the streets, if a man attempts to intervene, he can perhaps inflame the situation.
Certainly.
Yeah, because basically men, including myself, you, Russia, they, why you all fellas carrying on like this? Why you all don't behave yourself? Look at your pants and how you are, how you causing all kinds of problems, and the police should come and carry all of you. And what happens then? The young fellas, they're offended, their backs are up against the wall. So before you realize it, that man may be embroiled in that altercation.
Right.
Whereas a woman, generally speaking, would take a different approach. She would go out there and perhaps reach out and touch him and say, son, don't get yourself in no problems. Son, think about your mother. And it may cause him to pause for a while, but in that moment of pause, maybe his good sense could return, or someone else could intervene. And I just feel that that is what we need. These women have also been dubbed as ambassadors of peace, because that is their weapon: love, compassion, consideration. For example, they don't have a mandate to go out and do anything. They have no state authorized authority. They have no weapon, but their weapon is love. Their weapon is a spiritual approach. And we believe that that is the way for us to go, because only love, Bahamas Against Crime theme song done by Fred Munnings, Fred, Ferguson and others, is only love can save us now. Because truth is, we've tried meeting force with force. We've tried fighting fire with fire. And to date, it does not seem to work. So now if we unleash our women, get them properly motivated to do something about it, women can achieve almost anything they wish to in a society like ours. We've always been a matriarchal society. But unfortunately, over the last several decades, from my point of view, women have been sort of put to the back, whether that was voluntary or otherwise. But I remember growing up in the era when a lot of the men were off on the contract. Women ran things, ran the homes, ran the neighborhoods, ran the churches, and kept everything going just right. And so we are challenging our women to take that same interest. And we are saying other communities, should they desire to have this kind of activity, they could contact Nurse Ferguson or myself, and we could assist them in commencing a chapter in their community. It is very important that someone intervene. And unfortunately, at this stage, most of the actions seem to be taking place at the top and rushing in after the damage is done. So the women are approaching us from a point of reaching out even prior to the situation becoming one of criminal activity. Some of the women are talking about utilizing the kitchen that we have at the library. Tell us about that.
Okay, just to backtrack a bit, you know, we're looking at, and I guess also the public health nurse in me is looking at prevention.
Yes.
Okay, we can start with prevention. We are hoping that by next year this time, looking at our crime statistics, if by only 0.5 or 1% we can have a decline in crime in the Baintown community, we would have at least achieved something. And it would encourage other communities to see that we start small, let's make small steps and move on. And in terms of use of the kitchen that's attached, you know, we have a number of young men, you know, we see them about, sometimes they don't have means. We look at them, we say, they're men, you could go look for work, that kind of thing. But just as simple as offering a meal at some time, you know, just embracing that small step, you know, we can encourage them to come to us, to talk to us. We use that time to talk to them so that they would feel open enough to come to us and say, well, you know, I need to talk about something, I have a problem. Or we'd be familiar with them so that we can go to them if something is happening and say, well, now you know you shouldn't do it that way. While we are not condoning any nonsense on their behalf, we're there to embrace them, to nurture them, to encourage. And that is what we are about presently. That's what we're about. Our mandates may expand once we get our feet on the ground and see where we are. But at present, we're looking at getting through, just forming some good relationships. Most of the persons in the community we know, but just getting the relationships formed whereby they can come to us and talk to us. And when necessary, we can make referrals because we have persons who have come to our aid. We have social services. We have Mrs. Sandra Dane Patterson. We have the heir of the Attorney General. So our support is long-reaching.
Well, you mentioned Mrs. Sandra Dane Patterson and the Attorney General. They were present at the commissioning service, which was held, I think, on the 27th of September at St. Paul's Baptist Church on Bayer Street. And they both spoke to the congregation, and they both offered their full support in assisting the chapter to really get going, and we greatly appreciate that. We're going to take a quick break now, and when we come back, we're going to expand the discussion just a little bit. Don't go away.
Say what? Bumpy Massa, you got to be